You have been lied to your entire life. That house you are so proud of isn't an asset. It is a beautifully decorated prison cell slowly bleeding your future dry. Watch until the end, because I am exposing the brutal financial massacre the banking industry prays you never discover. It is exactly 2 a.m. on a Sunday. The world outside is dead silent, yet inside your bedroom, a deafening alarm is going off in your head. You are staring blankly at the ceiling, wide awake, while the person next to you breathes softly, entirely unaware that the roof over their head is slowly crushing you alive. You are not just losing sleep, you are suffocating. You are drowning in an invisible ocean, clinging to a deflating life preserver, yet still desperately whispering to anyone who will listen that you are living the American dream. But what if I told you that the very thing you work so hard to protect is actually the prison cell locking you inside a life of quiet desperation? What if the ultimate symbol of success is nothing more than a beautifully decorated trap, waiting to swallow your future whole? Stick with me until the very end of this video, because I am going to expose a financial massacre so deeply normalized that you do not even realize you are bleeding. Before we pull back the curtain on this brutal reality, please take a brief second to hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Your subscription is the raw fuel that gives us the motivation to dig deeper and bring you more eye-opening, hard-hitting videos in the future. Advongayanaf02 warmly welcomes you to a conversation that the banking industry desperately hopes you will never hear. Let us go back to that agonizing Sunday night. What exactly is running through your mind as you stare into the dark? It is the soul-crushing image of your toxic boss handing you another pile of meaningless work tomorrow morning. It is the transmission on your car that sounds like it is dying, the skyrocketing grocery bills, the tuition fees for your kids. But sitting heavily upon all of that, taking up the most agonizing space in your psyche, is the giant, parasitic mortgage payment waiting to rip a massive chunk out of your bank account. You feel like a hostage in your own life. Now, look out your window at your neighbor's driveway. It is a random, sunny Tuesday morning. He is casually loading a fishing rod into his truck. His face is entirely unburdened, taking a day off for absolutely no justifiable reason. Do you think he hit the lottery? Do you think he is secretly working 3 jobs? Not at all. His secret does not lie in a trust fund or a sudden windfall. His secret is that he has violently torn apart the Sunday night equation. He has successfully broken out of the house arrest that 90% of the middle class willingly puts themselves under. Let us look at the cold, unforgiving reality of the numbers so you can finally see how viciously the banks are beating us down. The average monthly mortgage cost right now hovers between $2,329 and $2,845. You hear these polished financial experts on the internet constantly preaching the golden rule of only spending 28% of your income on housing. What a total fabrication. In the real world, mortgages are currently devouring up to 43% of the average household's disposable income, completely shattering that pathetic safety threshold. Let me give you a breathing, bleeding example to wake you up from this financial coma. Take the Garcia family. Their combined income is $110,000 a year. It sounds incredibly impressive on paper, the quintessential American dream. A nice suburban home, 2 kids, a golden retriever. But let us peel back the layers of their wallet and watch the financial hemorrhage. After taxes and deductions, they bring home roughly $6,800 a month. Instantly, the mortgage steals $2,500. 2 car payments drive away with another $1,000. The student loans they have been dragging around since their college days eat up $600. Health insurance, utilities, internet, gas, and groceries ruthlessly siphon off another $2,570. Pick up a calculator and do the math yourself. At the bitter end of a month filled with exhausting, bone-crushing labor, the Garcias are left with exactly $130. $130 for an entire month of grinding away their youth. If a single tire goes flat, or if one of their kids needs a cavity filled, their entire financial ecosystem collapses, instantly pushing them over the edge of ruin. They are entirely trapped in the most fatal question of every single month. Will we have enough to keep the house? Listen to me closely. That is not homeownership. That is being owned by a home. It is a life sentence of solitary confinement disguised as a picket fence, and it is quietly destroying your soul. To truly understand how this soul-crushing confinement is built, we have to examine the invisible chains you enthusiastically sign your name to on closing day. Society has relentlessly spoon-fed you the narrative that buying a house is the ultimate, bulletproof wealth-building tool, but nobody dares to explain the sinister architecture of an amortization schedule. When you sit at that mahogany desk and sign away 30 years of your future, you are told you are building equity. But the brutal reality is that you are simply funding the banking industry's luxury retreats. For the first decade of your standard 30-year mortgage, you are barely making a dent in the actual principal of your home. You are handing over thousands of dollars every single month, desperately believing you are putting money into a giant piggy bank, when in truth, up to 80% of those early payments are vanishing into pure, unrecoverable interest. You are not an investor. You are a cash cow being systematically milked by financial institutions that have engineered a mathematically flawless system to keep you broke. They have successfully disguised a catastrophic liability as a glittering asset, wrapping it in the emotional blanket of providing a safe haven for your family. Think about the psychological manipulation required to convince an entire population to borrow money at inflated prices, pay double the home's actual value over 3 decades in interest, and then proudly brag about it at dinner parties. You are told that eventually, someday, decades into the future, the house will pay off. But they conveniently leave out the fact that by the time you actually own the bricks and the roof outright, your youth has completely evaporated. Your best years, your energy, and your physical vitality were entirely spent servicing a debt that the bank securitized and sold off for a profit before you even unpacked your boxes. We are living in an era of manufactured consent where the working class willfully volunteers for indentured servitude, completely blinded by the illusion of a rising property value. Yes, the market price of the house might go up, but that paper wealth is trapped behind drywall. You cannot eat equity. You cannot pay for your daughter's college tuition with the theoretical appreciation of your living room. The only way to access that so-called wealth is to either sell the home and buy another wildly inflated property, or beg the bank to lend you your own money back in the form of a home equity line of credit, restarting the vicious cycle of debt all over again. The entire system is a masterclass in financial misdirection, keeping your eyes fixed on the illusion of future wealth while they quietly siphon away your present reality. Once you look past the mathematical deception of your monthly payment, you are immediately confronted by the relentless, invisible extortion that lives inside your own walls. The tragedy of the American homeowner is not just the interest paid to the bank, but the endless, quiet hemorrhage of capital disguised as pride of ownership. A home is a living, breathing liability that constantly demands to be fed. The mortgage is merely the baseline, the absolute minimum you will pay to keep the bank from throwing you onto the street. What the shiny real estate brochures completely obscure are the property taxes that predictably march upward every single year, punishing you simply for existing in a specific zip code. You essentially rent your land from the government, and if you ever doubt that reality, try missing a few tax payments and see who truly owns your property. Then comes the suffocating avalanche of maintenance. When the water heater violently explodes in the middle of a freezing January night, there is no landlord to call. When the roof begins to sag, or the foundation cracks, or the HVAC system decides to die during a brutal summer heat wave, the financial devastation falls entirely on your shoulders. You spend your weekends endlessly pacing the aisles of hardware stores, pouring your hard-earned disposable income into caulk, lawnmowers, and roof repairs. You are no longer the master of your domain. You are an unpaid, highly stressed property manager for a structure that is slowly deteriorating around you. Your precious free time, the very hours you should be spending living, exploring, or resting, is ruthlessly hijacked by the endless chores required to maintain an asset that is quietly draining your bank account. This hidden tax of pride goes far beyond money. It destroys your greatest competitive advantage in the modern economy, which is your mobility. When you are shackled to a massive piece of physical infrastructure, your entire world shrinks. If an incredible, life-changing career opportunity opens up halfway across the country, you cannot simply pack your bags and chase it. You have to evaluate the local housing market, stage your home, pray for a buyer, pay a blood-curdling 6% commission to a real estate agent, and navigate months of bureaucratic hell. The house anchors you to mediocrity. It forces you to tolerate a toxic job, a stagnant local economy, and a miserable commute simply because the friction of leaving is too overwhelmingly expensive. You become a prisoner of geography, sacrificing your ultimate potential on the altar of homeownership, slowly rotting away in a community you tolerate just to justify the colossal financial mistake you were pressured into making. If the very walls we idolize are bleeding our futures dry, then we must violently shatter the biggest societal taboo ever engineered by the financial elite, the stigma of renting. Since childhood, you have been brainwashed to believe that paying rent is synonymous with throwing money out the window, a financial sin committed only by those who cannot get their lives together. But what if I told you that rent is not a penalty, but rather the price of admission for ultimate, unrestricted freedom? Rent is the exact maximum you will ever pay for housing in a given month, while a mortgage is merely the minimum. When you rent, you are purchasing an incredibly valuable service. You are buying a roof, yes, but you are also buying absolute liquidity, zero maintenance anxiety, and the unparalleled power of a 30-day notice. Think back to your neighbor in the driveway, casually loading his fishing gear on a random Tuesday. His secret is that he stopped pouring his capital into concrete and started pouring it into the market. He runs the freedom algorithm. Instead of locking a massive down payment into a highly illiquid asset that barely outpaces inflation, he rents a modest, comfortable place and aggressively invests the difference into income-producing assets like index funds and dividend stocks. While the homeowner is busy frantically repairing a broken gutter and weeping over a property tax reassessment, the renter's capital is fluid, moving effortlessly across the global economy, compounding silently in the background. The renter is not throwing money away. He is outsourcing the catastrophic risks and horrific inconveniences of property management to someone else, so he can focus his finite energy on aggressively expanding his net worth. The psychological liberation of this approach is intoxicating. When the economy shifts, when a neighborhood declines, or when life simply demands a change of scenery, the renter drops a set of keys on a counter and walks away into the sunset. No closing costs, no desperate open houses, no begging the bank for permission to move. Society looks down on the renter because society is deeply threatened by individuals who refuse to participate in the collective misery of the rat race. The banking system needs you to buy a house so they can lock you into 30 years of predictable, obedient labor. They need you terrified of losing your home so you will never dare to talk back to your boss, take a risk on a new business, or demand a better life. Rejecting the mortgage is not just a financial strategy. It is a profound act of rebellion. It is loudly declaring that your peace of mind and your time are vastly more valuable than a deed to a depreciating wooden box. Stepping off this predetermined path requires more than just a financial pivot. It demands a radical, almost terrifying reclamation of your own existence. Escaping the middle-class house arrest is not about demonizing bricks and mortar, but about recognizing when a physical structure has become a psychological cage. You have to look in the mirror and ask yourself what you actually want out of this incredibly short, fragile life. Is it to be the proud custodian of a rotting house, working until your body breaks down just to impress people you do not even like? Or is it to possess the ultimate luxury of time, the ability to wake up on a Sunday morning, look at the ceiling, and feel a profound, sweeping sense of absolute peace? The system is designed to keep you exhausted, overwhelmed, and financially cornered because an exhausted population is a compliant population. But you have the power to rewrite the equation tonight. It begins with the brutal honesty of auditing your own life and admitting that the traditional American dream was a script written by bankers for bankers. You do not have to participate in the slaughter. You can choose to downsize your ego along with your housing footprint. You can choose to sever the emotional attachment to the size of your backyard and replace it with an obsession for the size of your investment portfolio. Imagine the sheer, unadulterated power of walking into work knowing that your living expenses are so incredibly optimized that you could survive for years without a paycheck. That is the moment the matrix shatters. That is the moment your toxic boss loses all leverage over your soul. You are no longer working to keep the bank from foreclosing on your life. You are working because you choose to, entirely on your own terms. This is your wake-up call to stop sleepwalking toward the financial cliff. The math is clear, the trap is set, and the alarm is ringing. You must stop trading the irrecoverable hours of your youth for a patch of grass and a status symbol that brings you nothing but profound, silent anxiety. Sell the liability. If it is drowning you, embrace the stigma of renting. Hoard your cash, buy back your time, and radically redesign your life around freedom rather than accumulation. The world outside that window is vast, incredibly beautiful, and waiting to be experienced. But you will never see it if you spend your entire life locked inside a vault of your own making. Take a deep breath, silence the deafening noise of societal expectations, and step out of the prison cell. The door was never truly locked. You just had to realize that you were the one holding the key the entire time. The relentless pursuit of the traditional American dream has deceived millions into voluntarily signing away their freedom for a 30-year financial sentence. Society and the banking industry have masterfully disguised a suffocating liability, a house, as the ultimate wealth-building asset. By hiding the devastating realities of front-loaded amortization schedules, escalating property taxes, and endless, soul-draining maintenance, the system ensures that you remain exhausted, anchored, and entirely dependent on a paycheck. You trade your vibrant youth, your geographic mobility, and your peace of mind just to maintain a physical structure that quietly bleeds your capital dry. However, breaking free from this manufactured matrix is entirely within your control. It requires violently shattering the societal stigma surrounding renting and recognizing it for what it truly is, a calculated purchase of absolute liquidity, flexibility, and zero-maintenance freedom. Instead of burying your hard-earned money in drywall and concrete, you can redirect your capital into income-producing assets that silently compound in the background. The ultimate luxury in life is not a sprawling backyard, a status symbol, or a title deed, but the irrecoverable currency of time. By choosing financial fluidity over physical accumulation, you strip the system of its leverage over your life. You reclaim your autonomy, enabling you to design an existence based on true independence rather than the silent anxiety of debt. The key to escaping the middle-class house arrest is realizing that true wealth is measured by the freedom to live life entirely on your own terms. Society's universally accepted financial milestones are often perfectly engineered traps designed to benefit massive institutions at the expense of your personal freedom. True wealth is never defined by physical possessions, zip codes, or the illusion of equity trapped behind drywall. True wealth is absolute autonomy, geographic mobility, and the unrestricted ownership of your own time. Start by ruthlessly auditing your current financial trajectory and separating your ego from your living situation. Calculate the true, unrecoverable costs of homeownership, interest, property taxes, insurance, and maintenance, and compare them to the cost of renting while aggressively investing the difference in the stock market. If your current home is anchoring you to a toxic job, a stagnant city, or draining your peace of mind, seriously consider selling it. Stop viewing rent as a penalty and start leveraging it as a monthly subscription to freedom and flexibility. Redirect your finite energy away from maintaining physical liabilities and focus entirely on accumulating liquid, income-producing assets that will buy back your time. If you had to make the choice right now, would you prefer the traditional path of owning a home or the ultimate flexibility and financial liquidity of renting? Please leave a comment below sharing your perspective so we can all learn from each other's viewpoints. If you found value in this message, please hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Your subscription is the exact motivation we need to keep pushing back against the system and creating more eye-opening content for you in the future.